Hi. So this video is just to show you how we can set Covidence up and then how we can start screening there. So before jumping to Covidence, I would like to go through the steps of a systematic review. So I think that would be easier for you to understand where we are using Covidence to help our review. So generally, there are few steps. Some might be overlapping, but not overlapping. Not in order. But generally, what we do first is clearly form our review question. And then identify inclusion and exclusion criteria. For this one, we generally use a criteria called PICO, which is participants intervention comparison outcomes. And then once this is set, we do a comprehensive search over several databases appropriate to your subject area. And then we have to select the studies because that will give like a bunch of studies which might be relevant, which might be relevant. So we have to select those studies according to the pre-specified criteria, which is the inclusion and exclusion criteria we just figured out. And then once you have those final study set, we can extract data and then we can analyze, and then also we can do some appraisal of quality of studies or risk of bias, and then we can assess strength of evidence, and then we present our final results. So let's go to the next slides. I'm just going to brush up the things for you, which I think it might be easier for you to understand. So generally, when we do the research question, these are the criteria that we are using to give a clear research question. So for example, P for participants, your research question has to clearly show these components in your research question. So P for participants, as I said, so I is interchangeable. When it's like interventional review, we use it as interventions, or otherwise you can use it as exposure. Uh, so comparison group should be clear, like uh, to compare, like we are assessing some interventions or compare to which control. So comparison group should be clearer. And then what are the outcomes we are interested in? And study design is optional, but also this is helpful because we are assessing quality of studies at the end if it is a systematic review, not necessarily if it is a scoping review, but if we have to figure out what is our quality assessment method, and study design would be helpful to extract when it's a systematic review. So it's nice to always have study design at a side, literally. Okay, so this is kind of generalized, how to say, template wise research question I generally use when it is a newcomer for systematic review. So like, what is this effect of intervention for your participants on which outcome compared to which comparator? So this is my research question that I'm going to go forward with. For example, my intervention is dancing, and I'm looking at healthy people. And then on stress, like general stress, not like medically diagnosed depression or something, but compared to no other intervention. So it can be another exercise, can be a diet, it can be not doing nothing. So likewise. And then when I form my research question, it would be like, what is the effect of dancing for healthy people on stress compared to no other intervention? Okay, so this is what I meant by inclusion and exclusion criteria. When it comes to PICOs, it is very organized, and it is very easy to identify what we should include in our research, what should we exclude in our research. So for example, in terms of participants in my research, the current research that I'm explaining here, I'm interested in healthy adult humans, but I'm not interested in any disease conditions, or I'm not interested in animals, and I'm not interested in children. So whatever the research comes up with the search, I have to read that research paper. If it is on healthy adult humans, I would consider based on the other inclusion criteria as well. But if it is on any other disease condition, for example, stress on like a stress on stroke, then I don't need that paper. Because that's not on healthy adult human, for example. So yeah, and then when it comes to intervention, my interested intervention is dancing. Dancing, but I'm not interested in any other interventions, for example, diet or counseling, for example. Um, And then when it comes to comparison, I'm looking at the papers, dancing comparatively, other exercise in no or other exercise interventions, but I'm not interested papers comparing dancing to pharmacological or dancing to surgical interventions, for example. And my outcomes I'm interested in are stress, fatigue, burnout, anxiety, but I'm not interested in other mental health conditions such as depression. So study designs, I would think of including RCTs, but other study designs, for example, case studies, cross-sectional, systematic reviews, no, I'm not interested in those ones. And other considerations that while I'm doing my screening, I would only include full text published in English because I don't have language expertise in the other languages. And also, I'm excluding non-empirical studies, for example, letters to the editor, commentaries, and conference articles, for example. So once this is there, again, I'm going to general steps of review. So we have review question, we have inclusion exclusion criteria, and we have done the comprehensive search with particularly with an eye with an information specialist or librarian is recommended. And then once it is set, then we have to studies. We have to select the studies according to this criteria. So this is where you can start using Covidence. You can keep on using Covidence to extract data and even to extract the data for quality of studies or risk of bias as you like. Today, this video will show you how we can do screening, where I mentioned here selecting studies according to pre-specified criteria. So this happens in two steps. One is title abstract screening. The second thing is full text screening. So Covidence is helpful in other things as well. For example, it removes duplicates automatically, but you can also go and see it's manually as well. And as I said, it involves in screening, and also we can use it as in data extraction. I'm sorry, I'm being a bit repetitive, but I'm using a like old PowerPoint. But this is also used risk of bias assessment as well. So Covidence has two ways that we can use. One thing is you can be the admin and set screening in Covidence, and you can be the user. Someone has done the screening, some setup, but you are using it to screen. Um, so I'm just going to show you how we can set it up first, and then maybe we can go to how to use it properly for screening. Okay, so this is how it looks like when it comes to face. You can just like, Facebook account or some any other account, you can just put up your password uh, and then you can log in. But if you don't have an account, you can sign up here. Then when you go inside, give me a minute. Okay. So this is how you would look like. So there are several reviews listed here. And then if you're a beginner that where you want you want to start a review, then you go to review and then you can fill this one. For example, here you're creating a Cochrane review. No, so I'm just going to give test review. So I'm just usually giving my date of setting it up. Then I can track it down. How long did I take to complete my review, for example? Well, this is not the only place that you can note down, but I'm usually doing it for my reference. And then, okay, so I name my review and then review type. You can use Covidence for any screening. So it could be any type of review, but here I'm going to use systematic review. And question type could be intervention, prevention, etiology. So different systematic review types are there. The most common one is intervention, and I'm going to show you that one so that you can adapt the rest as you need. Okay, so I'm using medical and health sciences here, but it's really up to you to decide which area of research you're doing, your systematic review. And then there are some automation options that given that Covidence started using AI to track tag references reporting on RCATs. So if you like to use, you can of course use that one, but I'm not interested in now. So I'm using my institutional access for this one. So generally Covidence gives free account, but you can only screen only 500. What you can do is maybe you can create several reviews and then split split up your screening if you're using a free one, but otherwise you can use your um, institutional one and then go ahead. So this is what you see once you review, once you set the review, then it's inviting reviewers. So I'm here already, but if you want to invite another reviewer, for example, or Ishanka, and then I'm just going to use another my same address, but you can use whatever whoever the reviewers you're going to invite and then invite. Okay, so that's here. Once they accept the invite, they'll come up here, and you also can remove your invite as well. Okay, so yeah, and then if some invites are expired or declined, you can see under this or the under this heading as well. And then you can go to team settings. So this is where you can track how far you've gone through screening as a team. So this is the only person that I'm here so that you can see my contribution, how many papers that I've screened. And if there are second, third screeners, you can see there. And then also you can manage rules. For example, everyone can do anything, or you can manage rule. For example, you can select this person like I have to screen all the studies, um, uh, and then also you can change. Otherwise, conflicts can be resolved by me or like maybe third reviewer is general rule, or you can do it by yourself as well. Otherwise, keep it as it is, so anyone in the team can do anything. And then you go to full text review. Here also you can manipulate the things around and also extraction. So once you set up those rules to your team, then you can go to your eligibility criteria. So I'm just going to go to my PowerPoint here again. Um, yeah, so this is my inclusion criteria for the draft question that I used. And then I can just simply paste, cut and paste. So healthy adult humans, I'm including in terms of population or participants, and then I'm excluding these papers. I'm including dancing as intervention, but I'm excluding interventions as any intervention. And then my comparison group would be no or any other exercise intervention. But if any paper has compared dancings to pharmacological or surgical interventions, I'm excluding them out. And my interested outcomes are stress or similarly fatigue, burnout, or some, what is that, anxiety. But I'm excluding like mental health conditions such as depression. So I have like, and then in terms of RCT, it's not here, so maybe I'll just use this one. Um, Other study designs, I don't need them. Um, and full text, that's what I'm interested in. And I'm not interested in conference articles. So I've just dropped down my inclusion criteria. So everyone in the team can see this one. And also you can see there's a like little question mark. You can pop those how to say other study characteristics as well. Perhaps I can drag this one down here because that's the place it should be, I guess. Even this one. Well, you can keep it anywhere you like, but it's saved here now. Okay, and then there's something very lovely which is called highlights. So once it's a highlight is added, um, you can, for example, if any keywords related to my inclusion criteria, you can highlight them in green. If any keyword related to my exclusion criteria, you can highlight them in red. So that like I'll show you, this is like the setting up, but when you go to real screening, you will see how it looks like. So I'm just going to add here, like my inclusion criteria has dancing. So I'm just going to add it as an inclusion highlight, and also maybe choreography. Just disregard if my spelling is incorrect, but that's one of the examples and one of the keywords that I might use. And I'm interested in RCT, so that's kind of my inclusion criteria. And then healthy, yeah, and then healthy, and then what else? Stress, so burnout, And then keep adding those screening. I'm just going to stop, but you can add as long as you have many keywords, you can use them. And my exclusion, I don't like studies assessing children, so I added children. So children, child, perhaps, and then adolescent. Um, that'll make your life easier when you do the screening. And adolescents, what else? Perhaps animal. When it comes to animal, they usually do rat experiments, rat and mouse and mice. I'm not interested in depression, so depression. So likewise, you can add the keywords related to exclusion here. Okay, so that's done. And then also you can go to full text exclusion rules. You can edit and add later on as well. So you can see like once it is title and abstract screening, you don't have to list down any reason why you are excluding. It's just looking at the title and abstract. And then, but when you come to full text screening, if you're excluding something, you have to tell why you're excluding that particular study. So these are kind of default answers that they have. But if you don't like it, I usually just delete them all and add my own criteria. For example, let's say I don't like conference articles or conference presentations, let's say conference abstracts maybe. Yeah. So if any paper is with the conference abstracts, I'm going to exclude them. And papers on children, so non-adult population. That's going to be one of my full text screening things. And then let's say animal or non-human studies. Uh, and then not dancing. Um, it's if it is not my intervention, and if it is not my interested intervention, I don't want them. Those papers. Not assessing stress. Not assessing healthy people. Okay, so that you added those things. So, and then the other important thing, which can be useful, are study tags. So you can later on do it, or otherwise you can do it at the beginning as well. For example, if I wanted to see any studies that interested when I can use when I'm writing my background, I would say background. And if I have subgroups, for example, healthy adults, but I'm looking at working moms, then making and then um, non-working moms, um, oh no, non-working women. I don't know, whatever the things that you would like to look at, like as subgroups. Also, you can, or if you like to see dancing in different groups, like choreographies in aerobic dancing or general freestyle dancing. I don't know. If you like to tag them later on, you can extract them according to those tags as well. So I think it's just the setting up is nice. Let's go and see how we can do import references. So once your data search is done, you can download it as a RIS file or RAS file, and then you can go to import and then hit import button. Generally, like some people do it in different ways, but in generally we send them to screening from the beginning because you are going to start from there. But there are some instances you do screening somewhere and then you send some slot only to include it. Maybe to exclude it. So that really depends on your research teams. But if you're a beginner and if you're beginning a systematic review, this is where it should go. And then source, it's very nice to see from which database that you are getting the data or data, I don't know. And then you can select Medline and then you can choose the file and upload it. So I don't have anything here to show, but you can choose the file and upload it. But once it's done, you can see the history. So I'm just going to go to uh, another, how to say, um, another review set and we'll show you how it happens. So these are one of my other another account. So I'd say so this is how my reviews look like, and we have already set one up. But if you like, this is like once it's uploaded, this is how it looks like. So you can go and open up view details, and it'll nicely show you which database is coming, which data is coming from which database. For example, Medline, I couldn't import all the things together because that was too much, so I split them into two. So Medline first portion brought like nine this much of amount records, and the second amount brought this second slot brought this much of amount records. Embase, likewise Embase, and then Sinel and Scopus. So you can see how many duplicates removed from each side, how many references are included at the end. So it shows us here, you can see clearly. Um, and then, yeah, so once import is done, I think you're ready to screen. Um, and again, I have to say that there are like you can see like 6,000 something duplicates have removed. And if you can go back, if you really doubt that whether this machine is doing right or wrong, you can just manually go to each record and say, oh, this is not a duplicate, but it's really rare that I haven't found anything that they have marked as a duplicate if it is not a duplicate. So yeah, it's quite accurate. But while you are screening, you can manually mark as well. For example, if you see duplicates later on, you can still manually send them as duplicates. So the first step is title and abstract scene. So now I'm moving from the admin part to user. So how we can use systematic Covidence to screen papers or records for your systematic review. So first step is, as I said, title and abstract screening, and this can be like two or four or five or six, as many as reviewers, but at what time at one time one or like sorry at one time two people could independently review the paper. So you can still go and see review team settings if you like, but otherwise, so here you can see, as I said, so far my team has done this many reviews. This is important because sometimes when you're offering authorships, for example, it might be nice to see who has done more, who has done less. Um, okay. And you see here the progress is shown here, like the dark green shows like both the screeners have done up to this amount. One of us has done this amount, and if there are any conflicts, that is shown by this line. Don't worry about the conflicts because we are two different people screening this one, so we can try to minimize the conflicts. That's why we need a fine-tuned inclusion and exclusion criteria. But if there are any conflicts, we can resolve them later anyway. So when you go into Covidence, if it is already set it up, what you hit was hit should what you hit should be screen button. Hit continue here. And then now I'm going to show you those highlights I mentioned. So this is a separate review where they are looking at communication in menstruation and menopause. So my main highlights for inclusion criteria are the green ones here. But if it is indicated, like, for example, I'm not interested in case series, so I highlighted cases in my settings here as cases. So for example, reviews. I'm not interested in. And so those are indicated as red, so they look red there. You can either show highlights or hide highlights. So I really like this one, so that like kind of giving major information so that I can have a quick read. I cannot just say, oh, all are green, I should include. No, still you have to read, but it will be a quick read compared to the others. So if you think this is addressing my criteria, like for example, if you can remember our old one when we set up a few minutes back, it was on dancing and stress and health on healthy dancing, how dancing help healthy people to relieve stress. But this is a different one, so the inclusion criteria and exclusion criteria can easily be seen here to any of the reviewers involving in this one. So okay, I read this one. I think I'm not going to include this one, so I can say no, or I can say maybe if I'm not sure, or you can say yes. Generally, I don't use maybe option because that'll increase our workload later. If it is a maybe, I still use like as a yes. So if it is a maybe, I hit yes rather than hitting a maybe. That's just a little tip, because anyway, they're going to end up in full screening stage. Okay, so once it's done, you can even like see like number of things, and sometimes you can order it in order, or title order. It's just like there are several steps there. Most recent screen one, most relevant one, likewise. And there's something called as tags, which we read. For example, if you select this particular study and I want this one in my background, I'll go to tag, but there are several tags here. But if it's a background one, I'll hit background. So you will see my background tag here. Yeah. And then you can add notes. And also you can see my history. So this is only imported, but if I have said yes, it'll be displayed here. If I said no, it'll be visible here as well. If you think this is a duplicate, you can still manually mark as a duplicate, and then it'll go to your number of duplicates automatically. And this is another very useful filter. For example, if I want to exclude all children's papers together, I would use children and say filter. So I have like 26 studies, so I can quickly go through. This is children, I don't want them, and then I say no. Like it's kind of a quick way to screen the papers out. Similarly, systematic reviews, if I'm not using it in my systematic review, or if I'm not like using, like for example, rat, and mouse, animal, keep on adding filters, and then it'll give you, it'll be useful to get rid of lot of records quickly. Okay, so so that is your title and abstract screening. So you both have to do it independently. Your other partner cannot see what you are doing here, which means there can be conflicts. So if you can see these conflicts, if both of you said yes here, mm, there's no conflict. If both of you said no, there's no conflict. But if you guys have said two different things, that'll end up in resolved conflicts. And then of course, either you can sit together over the phone, over the Zoom, or physically. You can discuss why you have excluded. This is the reason why I am excluding. Come into a common agreement and decide whether you're going to include or exclude. As I said, maybe just if you like, you can still use it. But I'm saying if you use yes instead of maybe, that'll be even easier when you're fine to save time. Okay. So yeah, so then keep resolving them, and then all the records will go into either to full text screening, or that'll be excluded as irrelevant references. So you can still see there are like two reviews that someone has one of us has done, but they are waiting for the other reviewer. Until that, we can still undo. But if one has voted, then you cannot undo that one. And this is a tab where you can, but don't worry, because that's why we need two reviewers. That's why we need four eyes. So that'll be fine, I guess. But try to be very careful if you can. And all the relevant references will be listed here. You can still, if you change your mind, you can move them to screening. So both of you can start from the beginning. You can see history, for example, here I said no, someone else said no. That's why it's here. So yeah, so that's how you do title and screening, title and abstract screening. And then the second step, once you're done, all the rest of the studies where you said yes or maybe, it'll show up here. And then I can start screening. And then this is where you can upload your full text. So sometimes Covidence itself, they just automatically upload their papers. I'm trying to find, look, so this is uploaded by Covidence itself. So you can open it up. It'll open it as another tab, and you can fully read now. Like in the first screening, we just read our title and abstract only. We didn't go to full text. So now we have more details, and then you can see whether this paper particularly addresses our inclusion and exclusion criteria. If it does, you can say include. But if you're not happy with this paper, if any of the criteria is not in this paper, then we can exclude. And we have to select the reason here. As I said, I haven't set it up yet here. So you can still edit this list. Think this is not on menstruation. This is not on, how to say, on communication. So you add those things and then select appropriate exclusion criteria and then say confirm. So that'll be excluded. With a reason for exclusion. So, and the other nice thing is the Prisma flow chart. So you can see what you have done so far. For example, in this review, I have screened this much of records. These are my records from each database, duplicates, how many and how, whether they are manually or by Covidence, and then number of records, etc. So I'm just going to show you something that I finished up to full text screening, perhaps. Um, Maybe this one. Um, So yeah, still there, but you can see nice numbers here, and then you can see why this reviewer has excluded this much of full text. So in this review, they were looking at musculoskeletal symptoms of something called that melioidosis, a bacterial disease. So they were looking at muscular presentations, but 42 has not mentioned musculoskeletal symptoms, and they have excluded this one. Likewise, there are different reasons of exclusion. Later on, you can edit because you can take this as a docs document. So yeah, so that's literally the full text screening. Um,